Because we live. That's why. Because we found to our surprise and to our joy that we are not alone. Because we discovered that we never really know where he will turn up next. But you can almost be guaranteed you'll see him there. And knowing that Jesus is alive gives us confidence to live our lives. We no longer need to be frightened, no longer need to be afraid of what tomorrow may bring. The journey of your life, Jesus is indeed that missing ingredient. After Becky was born, her parents knew she would face a number of surgeries in her short years before her. Surgeries that would help address some of the problems that she had when she was born. By the time she was 4 years old, Becky had already had a number of operations. She was used to a hospital. She knew it. It was like home. She was comfortable there, felt safe there, felt at ease there. One day in the hospital, after recovering from yet another operation, the hospital brought in a little 8-year-old girl to share a room with Becky. The little girl was to have brain surgery the next day, and she was terribly frightened. Her parents did all they could to try to console her, but no matter what they said, no matter how tightly they held her, they could not calm her fears. Becky was sitting in her mother's lap, and she whispered in her mother's ear, "I know what to do," she said. She got down from her mother's lap, walked over to that little 8-year-old girl, put her soft hand on her soft cheek, and said, "Don't cry. I was afraid too, but I'm not anymore." And the little 8-year-old girl stopped her crying just long enough to ask Becky, "Why aren't you afraid anymore?" Becky said, "I'm not afraid anymore because I have my Jesus. When my Jesus is with me, I'm not afraid." And then Becky took her hands and she made a cup like this, and she held it right near her heart as if she were filling them with water from a fountain. And she reached them out to her new friend and said, "Give me your hands." That little 8-year-old girl put her hands like a cup just below Becky's, and Becky opened hers and made a gesture as she were pouring her most treasured possession into her friend's hands. And at the same time she said, "Take my Jesus. Because with my Jesus, you don't have to be afraid anymore." That's the good news of Easter. That Jesus goes with us in the living of our lives, in all that we face, in all that we do. In the step that we take from here, when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, when we make our journey to the thankless job, when we look at our checkbook and wonder where the rest of it's coming from, when we pray for our families, we look at our world and we find ourselves in despair and it seems we want to give up, we hear those words of Jesus saying, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid." And if we open our eyes just a bit, we'll see that the risen Lord is with us and will never leave us. Frederick Buechner said, "If there is anything in this world I believe, it is that God is indeed doing all kinds of things in the lives of all of us." I believe Jesus is doing something in your life this day. He is risen. Christ is risen indeed.